And final. Oh dear.
Back in the mid-1990s, I had the pleasure of having Mr. David Kuchar in my honors American literature class. And a class that was particularly brilliant. And one thing that may surprise you is that Mr. Kuchar was very quiet in that class, except once in a while when he spoke, everyone stopped and listened. And I remember one time he said something so brilliant that the next kid who was supposed to speak said, "I'm supposed to follow that?" And that guy went on to become a doctor, but Mr. Kuchar decided to stay here and share his wisdom with us. And so I give you Mr. David Kuchar.
Progress report, Spencer. Guys, good morning. Good morning, Saints. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
I got a room for the big day. It did not take long. I want to thank you for being here. It is an absolute honor. It's a privilege, and most importantly, it is a joy to be with you all today. It really is. I had to chuckle during the first Tom talk. We were sharing what drives us. 5 seconds into Mr. Holtz's, I saw the vehicle. He's got my opening joke. And while I never had the privilege of having Mr. Holtz as a teacher, I still feel like I just got schooled by him as well. I want to thank him, and I also want to thank Mrs. Verde for sharing their truth and beauty with us over the last 2 talks as well. This is what I got. It's a 2017 Chevy Cruze. Saving up for a down payment on an X-Wing, so that in a few years, I'd love to tell you that it had just to do with like reliable like safety and track records and mileage and all that good stuff. It kind of resembles a stormtrooper.
Yep.
This is not the car. If you remember the chipmunk, if you remember the deer, if you remember the bat, this is not that car. And I want to be clear, I have had nothing to do with the squirrels on Dover Point. That was not me. The car that resembled a stormtrooper couldn't possibly hit anything. Some of you might have seen me wandering behind the school a few weeks ago. I got in my vehicle to leave, and I turned on the engine, and I'm leaving the school lot, and all of a sudden, there is this shrieking sound. It sounded like something really, really bad was happening to like a neighborhood cat, and I felt responsible for this. And the more I went around the school, the worse it got. Did anyone remember that day? Did anyone remember the screeching? It was horrific, and it's so embarrassing. It's like, what is going on here? So I eventually had to pull over, and I had to call a tow truck. Many of you will discover, if you haven't already, the joys of calling it a tow truck. It's just when you injure your foot, but sometimes you need it for your car as well. So the tow truck comes by, they bring it over to the shop. Some of you have just got there, I'm proud of you. So we get to the auto body, and they're looking at it, and again, everything, I was kind of surprised that everything in the car is working except for this horrific screeching noise. Like, oh, this is going to be expensive. Like, usually, the louder the noise, the more expensive the repair. You will know the joys of car, ownership someday. And so I went back the next day, and they said, well, we found the problem, and here it is. So I'm imagining, like, oh, is it like a brake pad is loose and all this stuff? I brought a prop today. You're going to have trouble seeing it. This little pebble, I kept it for 3 weeks now, just for today, was the cause of all of that noise and screeching and what was wrong with my car. This little teeny tiny pebble that looks relatively insignificant, and yet was causing great distress in the life of my car. And actually, this pebble is going to be part of the theme for today. The pebble we have in our own lives. It's a joy to kind of share with you a little bit about some of my favorite teachers, some of my favorite people. And those of you who know me for some time, it always starts with family. This is my dad. And I had a lot of fun going through photos, like which ones do I want to share with you guys today? My dad is a train guy. Ever since he was a little kid, I heard stories about him running around Dover. He'd help his dad renovate homes. Anytime there was a train that went by, he'd run out to greet it and wave, hopefully get folks to make the sound, the train whistle. There was a story in Dover, they used to throw frozen turkeys off of trains. My dad got one Thanksgiving. Like train operators were like superheroes for my dad. He's the only guy I've ever known that when a train gate went down, he was excited to stop and just watch the train go by. Everyone else, not so much, you know, but trains are his thing. If you look carefully, what's really neat, a couple fun things about my dad. In public, he never wore anything but a dress shirt. Even when he renovated homes, he was always in a dress shirt. The only time I saw him in public without one was in a Star Wars t-shirt at the premiere of The Force Awakens in 2015. That's it. I have never seen my father without his sideburns. My brother grew them out in high school. My brother actually got a detention for them here at St. Thomas. We kept the detention. It was that precious. I will admit, I don't know if you've noticed, part of what drives me, this is like no kidding. This is a little facial hair memorial for my dad. I honestly didn't think I would ever love like long sideburns, but they're starting to grow on me. I love this photo. My parents were married for over 44 years. 44 years. This is the last picture of them together. This was on my mom's birthday. My dad had a stroke. I know a number of you guys have already heard that. So we got them the flowers, and I just love the looks on their faces. This lovely, lovely couple that I've known since the day I was born, who have taught me a ton, who still teach me a ton. One who's here and one who's not. The stroke in many ways was a pebble, a significant pebble. Sometimes that little pebble feels like a boulder, like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you know, Indy running away from the boulder. The stroke was one of those pebbles. And my dad used to love doing so many things. He was brilliant with computers, loved renovating homes. He was relearning how to walk. You know, I remember being struck watching my father learn how to walk again. He was there when I took my first steps, learning how to feed himself. He really struggled with language. One of the most beautiful sights my brother and I had of my mom was almost every day for months. She would be working. They have all these apps to help teach language for people who struggle with aphasia. And my dad would get frustrated. My mom was his coach and his cheerleader, and just a beautiful image. If you want to know what love looks like, I just have that indelible image in my head for all the love shown from my mom to help my dad get better. Stroke was a team effort. In many ways, Mom took over a lot of the responsibilities Dad was doing. My brother and I were kind of the entertainers. My brother made the mac and cheese, the kielbasa, and stuff like, Dad, you want any of this? Yeah. You know, it'd usually be like one or two words, yeah. One of my greatest joys was Dad couldn't operate like the remote after and such. All these movies and shows, most of which were sci-fi, he introduced me to. I was 4 when I saw Star Wars, not in theaters. My earliest memory with my dad is watching Star Wars, Darth Vader entering the rebel ship at the beginning, and I can still remember at age 4 making a joke about, reminds me of my old boss. One of those like fun memories I still have of my dad bringing up this movie. I got to show him all these movies and shows that he showed me growing up. I knew what he enjoyed, I knew what he liked. Some of them he remembered, some of them he didn't, so he was able to see them sort of again for the first time. And in one of those weird sort of circles of life, I mentioned Star Wars was the first movie. The last movie I saw with my father in theaters was Star Wars Rogue One. Everything sort of has chapters in Star Wars. And if you remember the end of the movie, I know it's kind of a spoiler alert, going on a couple years, earmuffs if you don't. It ends at the beginning of Star Wars. And I found that amazing, that the chapter I began with my father kind of came full circle at the end of Rogue One as well. So total team effort. And to this day, it's one of these things that I just find so profound. Even when thinking about this talk, I showed you the first picture of my dad. I have heard more train whistles than you would believe in the past year and a half. It is the funniest thing. Sometimes when I'm talking to my dad at cemetery, sometimes I think about him at a walk. Trains, trains, trains. So it's just one of those things, it's a sound that fills me with joy. And this wonderful lady here is my mom, as I already mentioned. I was trying to find like a photo that encapsulates all these wonderful people. This is my mom in her natural habitat. She is a die-hard Sox fan. There is a picture of Fenway Park, above the mantle. She calls her brother who's a Yankee fan after every loss. We are absolutely a die-hard family. This lady lives her life for others. She is honestly one of the greatest people I know. We had a really tough Thanksgiving last year with a couple of people missing at the table. And my mom sort of turns what's not great into something beautiful. She loves to bake. She made over a dozen pies just to give them away last year. We visited some various homes and such and dropped them off. She is the personification of goodness. You know, the kind of person that the world is better off the more you have. I hope you know lots of people who kind of fit that description. One of our favorite things, we've been walking a lot this year. Last year was a really rough year, so we've been walking together. I gotta tell you guys, as you get older and you discover simple joys, nothing against like Snapchat streaks and all these wonderful things. Just walking with your mom, picking a crab apple down the road, you know, just seeing how far you can kick things. It's the simple things that really stick with you. You know, as you get older, you start to prioritize what's worth my time and what's not. And I absolutely cherish these walks. I mentioned a pebble. Another pebble that appeared this July. My mom was diagnosed with cancer. This was one of those things where kind of the joke was, 2018, this is going to be our year. It's going to be a good year. 2019, she's starting chemo today, actually. This was something where I was checking with her. I said, Mom, is it okay if I step out for a little bit? She said, oh, yeah, I'll be fine. You know, typical mom, like, I'll be fine. It's one of those things where, if I'm being totally honest, I'm scared. You know, I don't know what to expect. But I also know I'm going to be grateful for those times when she's feeling well enough to walk, when she's well enough to eat. My cooking, that'll make me really grateful.